overall, is it even worth it? Probably not in this case, but I'm halfway in. Alright, well, welcome back to Jack Wagon's driveway / garage. Hope you're having a great everything. Today, we're almost bumfuzzled by all the possibilities of, like, so many things I could be doing right now. So, we gotta pick one. So, let's have a look, shall we? We got a CCV mod we could do, but I think I'm gonna wait on that because I got fuel mods I want to do. I want to replace these fuel lines, get the FRX installed, and I've got the Banjo bolts that I can swap out, which are probably, that one in particular might be easier to get to if I don't have CCV stuff there. So I'm going to take advantage of having the engine compartment this cleaned out. It's been 2, maybe 3 weeks since we've had any signs of squirrel, so feeling confident about putting parts back in. So I think what I'm going to do is drain the fuel bowl, get the old fuel lines out, get the new fuel lines in, get the FRX in, which will require me taking off the old pressure regulator spring and poppet and this housing, replacing it with the new FRX housing. And I'll get you a little detail on that FRX housing. It's basic and simple, so I think it'll work. It's actually a little simpler than I was expecting once I had a look at it. But anyway, we'll get you a little detail on what that mod is, and we'll try to get the fuel under hood upgrades done. I think that'll be my first focus for the day. So we got Banjo bolts, we got new fuel lines, which supposedly flow better, the Banjo bolts flow better, and then our FRX, which is going to let air escape from the line. So let's get to it. Okay, so Banjo bolt back there. It's kind of a little bit farther down than you think it should be, but basically leaning over, letting my belly sit on some of this stuff, I was able to reach over with a little 1/4-inch drive and feel around down there, and basically about the center of the valve cover, straight down, you find it, and once you get it popped loose, it comes out pretty easy. So a little 1/4-inch ratchet drive fits right in there to get that out. And so that's the factory Banjo bolt, and basically what you've got is that's screwed into the side of the head. Your fuel lines come in from the side, and then the fuel rail that runs down the head, that's how it turns the corner, is with your Banjo bolt. So we got our Riff Raff box of goodies. We're going to replace that Banjo bolt with this Banjo bolt. So we got a little bit beefier O-ring there. You don't have to get these tight. You don't want to torque them, because it's not a very torque happy bolt. You just enough to smash that O-ring a little. But you can see the difference, in the flow capabilities between these two. Not hard to see down into the black one, but it's a wider channel inside the bolt, and clearly the the flow holes are going to flow more. Now for my application, do I really need to do that? Probably not. I mean, I'm not drag racing this thing. There's a chance I might put it in the county fair truck pull next fall, but I mean, you got slightly upgraded turbo, factory injectors. But if at some point, you know, I decide to do the rest of it, this seems like a good time while it's, you know, this far down on the top end. Seems like a good time to do it, so that's why I'm doing it. I need a different socket to put that back in than what you used to take it out. A little concerned that, you know, it's going to be a little tight in there. There's not a lot of room between the back of the head and that firewall. But I bet we can do it. Might mouth some bad words while we're doing it, but we'll get it done. So, but that's the gist of the Banjo bolts. These are from Riff Raff. They're not free, but you know, not ridiculous, I guess. So anyway, there's your Banjo bolt 411. I think I got something on my lip. Oh well, I think you're not supposed to torque them down very much. I think it's like inch pounds. I don't know, 100 inch. It's not much. You want them snug. Basically, when you feel that bottom, you know, a good solid. What's the right word? You're just squishing that O-ring a little bit. So once it does that, you kind of feel it hit bottom, and that's fine. That's all you need to do. So I'm gonna get that rear one put back in. Unfortunately, that looks like the easiest one. The one over here behind the exhaust. That one, hopefully I don't have to take the exhaust loose. But anyway, well, the wife's home. Anyhow, back to doing the stuff. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the RiffRaff FRX. Terrible light. Where to begin? I was very curious before I bought this. I watched other people's videos, and some people would try to give you a detail, you know, and show you what you were getting when you order this. But it never really gave me all the details I felt I wanted. I wanted to know, how does the internal mechanism work? So let's start with this piece is going to replace that piece right there. So your fuel bowl gets pressure, fuel comes in from the fuel pump, pressurizes the fuel bowl feeds both heads, but then once it gets to a certain pressure, the thing that determines the fuel system pressure is the spring and like a little check valve that's in here. So when you replace that piece with this piece, you can see it's a little bit thicker. It's going to require tweaking this line just a little bit. You got the Vibralock fitting. You're still going to be using the Vibralock fitting on it. And then these, what would be like return lines that you're adding in, you're going to have one coming from the back of that head, because you're still going to be feeding the fuel in the front. It's going to flow through and then return to one of these ports. So what I was curious about, obviously we're going to take the check valve and spring system that's already in use here, and we're going to put a spring, and it's going to push that poppet, check valve, whatever you want to call it, which is still going to be what's determining our fuel pressure. So I was curious, how did they get the return lines to come in, and how does the dynamics of that work? How do you feed the return lines back in front of the check valve or upstream of the check valve? so as to maintain fuel pressure, because if you just fed them straight into the return line, you know, how would you build pressure? That was the questions in my brain. And so I'm here to tell you how they did that. Let me see here. I don't know if I can get the camera to focus, if I can get you a clear view down in there. There's a tiny little pinhole, almost like a carburetor jet. It's a very small one. That one's darker for some reason. I'm going to make sure I clean that one out. This one, I think you can kind of see there's a tiny little pinhole in there. So when those return lines that we're adding in, you know, come back from the head and back into this, there's our new, we get to pick which spring we want and reuse the poppet for the check valve type thing. And then the spring's going to ride down in there to hold against the check valve. But downstream of our spring and check is where these pinholes are coming in. So the entire time that the fuel pump's running and building pressure in the fuel system, it's going to be some amount of flow, a very small amount, coming back through these return lines. And so that's what's going to allow your fuel system in your heads to that's what's going to allow them to let air out. So anytime you get air in there, that's going to purge the air out, because even that tiny little orifice, air is way less dense than water, obviously, and it's going to move through there pretty quick relative to diesel fuel. But the diesel fuel is going to have a harder time getting through there. It's going to be able to maintain pressure in your fuel system. But meanwhile, every time I try to make a video, cars, dogs, trains, anyway. But anyway, that's how it works. It's just a very simple, very small orifice that is letting a small amount of fuel return downstream of the check valve. So feeding straight into the return line to the tank. So anyway, that's how that works. I thought you might like to know. Alright, so in playing around with this passenger side Banjo bolt, went ahead and took the V-band off of the hot side of the turbo there. I don't know that that's going to benefit me in and of itself, but we'll find out. Hopefully I can push that back, get a little bit more clearance to get to that bolt, either from up here or from underneath. It looked like actually the thing that would probably make it the much easiest of any options would be to be able to get to it from right here ish, which I'd have to pull the wheel well liner out to do that. And yeah, I don't know. Try not to do that. So anyway, we'll see if this taking the exhaust loose helps me at all, or if I just made myself more work for no reason. I'll let you know in a minute, or next. Okay, well, the downside to working on the fuel system is that even with draining the fuel bowl, which the tube that goes down under the engine kind of sprays it in a bad spot, and I was going to put a extension on it to try to direct it somewhere useful. And then when I pulled out the pull out that plug on the back of this head, of course it drained some more fuel. And now I think I'm gonna need to just get that exhaust out of the way to get to that plug. It's also going to make it easier to get to that fuel line fitting. I mean, probably not necessary, but it'll be easier if I can get that out of the way. Or maybe the transmission dipstick. I'm not sure. Haven't really fully explored that. Basically, either way, it's going to be a pain in the butt. But, however, that looks like that's what I'm going to do next. These up here in the front, they're behind the accessories. I'm going to have to loosen brackets to get them out. Overall, is it even worth it? Probably not in this case, but I'm halfway in. I got to keep going. That's just how it is. So I'm going to continue on that. It's a little cold out here. The camera batteries keep trying to die, so it looks beautiful, nice and sunny, but a little chilly. So we'll bring you back in here when I get something figured out. So we got 1/4 of the banjo bolts done, and oh, by the way, problem with draining, you know, fuel towards the pan. Well, it didn't, you know, it didn't really all get there. So, yeah. So we got a big old fuel slick going on. And I was trying to get to that banjo bolt back here from up underneath, and I'm afraid I might have stripped it. So, you know, be careful with that. So, you know, it only takes me about 5 or 7 chunks in my eye before I remember I could use safety glasses. Weird. Can't see nothing through them, but, you know, safety. Alright, well, I would say that was easy, but I don't like to lie. I did get the exhaust out of the way so I can get to this other back banjo bolt. As you can see, if I spin you around and get you car sick, there's no exhaust there anymore. And once I got, you know, all the other pieces disconnected from that piece, then bringing it down out of there was easy. So I could see installing a 4-inch exhaust. Probably wouldn't be that difficult. But while I got you here, and just since you're skinnier than me, get in there and see if you can eyeball my turbine for me, would you? Can you reach? Can you see anything in there? I can't see nothing from here. I don't think you can either. It's too dark. But anyway, like I was saying, you know, we just, you know, took down some hangers here and there, and, you know, we got it out of the way. So now there's a fuel mess, but the exhaust is out of the way for now. And, yeah, there's like a whole section that was just stuck together with no clamp, so I'm sure that was the best way. Anyway, we're having fun out in the sun. I think maybe we can get to that banjo bolt now. Alright, little update here. We got that banjo bolt out of the back of the passenger side. Got it swapped out. For some reason, you know, the one on the driver's side came out pretty clean, no problems. And really they're just snug on that O-ring. So I don't know why, but this one gave me a little more trouble. Rounded itself out pretty good, but the old channel lock saved the day. Gave her the old bite, squeeze, crank, popped right loose, like it wasn't even a problem. So yeah, So, I mean, I don't know how many hours we are into this, but we got 2 banjo bolts changed, which, you know, there wasn't really anything wrong with the old ones. So, you know, it's a good day to be out here. Oh yeah, we also took the exhaust off, and we got to put that back on now. But before we do that, I think I'm going to get that fuel line run back there. So I think that's next. Before we put the anything back together, we're going to go ahead and get over to our aftermarket modifications. Now let's say, you know, well, that's what we're going to do next. So let's get to it. Alright, well, you caught me lying a little bit. Hold on, what are we doing here? Blah, blah, blah. Caught me lying just a little bit. A piece of junk down there. As you can see, instead of starting on the fuel line like I said I was going to, I decided to go ahead and pull the AC setter over here, let the dipstick hold it up, because that seems structurally intelligent. And then I can get right to that banjo bolt. Easy peasy. And that's where I'm going to run one of those FRX lines anyway. So look how easy that is to get to now. That little pipe plug. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get that done, and then I think all I got to do is maybe slide this bracket out. I might pull that just to make it less awkward, since it's already basically disconnected anyway. And then I think we can pull that bracket loose, pull it out, and get to the one on that side. So, I mean, we're already halfway through the banjo bolts. Might as well finish that up, because it's the least necessary thing to do. The pile of parts, you know, it just keeps getting bigger. It's amazing how much stuff was up in here. So, you know, if I had free time, I mean, this tore down. I mean, we could clean it up, paint the valley, draw a mural in there, maybe some stallions, or I don't know, a wolf crying at the moon. But yeah, we're not going to do that. Let me show you what you can watch if I strip out this bolt. Here, hang on, let me get you set up for that. Live action. Let's see what happens. You know, if I was smart, actually, I'll go ahead and put the drain pan over here in case stuff runs out. It shouldn't be much, okay? Because we already drained, you know, the other end of the block. Just because wherever you spill on the driveway, inevitably that's where you're going to end up laying later on, or where you're going to drop your favorite something. Alright, well, I mean, it's supposed to be super duper easy, right? Got a 1/4 inch drive ratchety. Stick it in there. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Which in this case, oh, let me think. Lefty loosey is pulling up. Saying righty tighty, lefty loosey always gets me confused, actually. I only said it for your benefit, and it just confused me. So, right here is a real good spot to bust your knuckles. So you gotta be careful for that, because we're really tight up against the block. The head, man, the head, it don't care. It does not care about your knuckles. Ah, there we go. I don't think we stripped that one. Nope. And then as soon as it comes loose, I mean, as soon as it moves at all, break it free, then it's just finger tight. I mean, they're really, you know, loose O-ring seal is all there is. So came right out, didn't booger it up, still got the inspection mark on it where somebody checked it at the factory. Then I did notice though that the O-ring didn't want to come with it. So we'll get down there and pull the O-ring off. And since just a little bit of diesel came out with it, that's perfect. Because now, since I got diesel on my fingers anyway, I can lube up the new O-ring with that. Just by touching it and putting it on the bolt. And I would tell you to look over here where I'm working, but I'd have to grab you with these nasty fingers. Okay, so got our new bolt, our O-ring down into position. There's a turbo diesel, Duramax. I don't mind Duramaxes. Don't tell nobody though, would you? And then for some reason, because of how loose the threads are, I guess, they're just really kind of awkward feeling when you go to try to get them started into the threads, you know. It might be the gloves too, they don't help. And somewhere over here I had a socket that was just the right size for this. Is that it? Oh yeah, 10 millimeter. Throw that on the 1/4 inch drive ratchet. And then you're just squeezing that O-ring, really. That Viton O-ring. Viton? However you say it. And then once you feel the metal kind of bottom out, just, you know, just snug. Don't break it. Alright, so there you go. Now, instead of that other one, we got the Riff Raff one. You know, it's hard to see because it's black, but it's right there. Okay, so now I think I'm just going to leave this out like that. I mean, I got like an hour of daylight left. Surely we'll get all this back together, right? No. It might be February by the time we test drive her. Today's like the 23rd, 24th. Oh yeah, probably. Okay, so I'm gonna get to work on this front side of the driver's side head, get this out of the way so I can get to that Banjo bolt. We can be done with the silly Banjo bolts and move on to stuff that we probably should have started with. Alright, well, look at what we did. We went ahead and pulled the alternator off and threw it over there under the truck. Took all the bracket bolts out. Power steering pump still connected down here. It had flexible connectors on all of its lines. So, you know, the upgrade hose, for some reason, call it an upgrade, was right in the way, so we just cranked it. You know, it's new, it'll take it. Pulled that bracket out, pulled out the old Banjo bolt, dropped it right into the drain pan. I mean, couldn't even have done that trying. And got the new one in. So, the Banjo voltage, we now have all 4 changed. So, I guess for the rest of the time that I own this truck, I can in the back of my head think, ooh, it's got those Riff Raff Banjo bolts in it, and then I'll smile. So, yeah, big pain in the butt. However, notwithstanding the fact that we now have the exhaust to put back together, the accessories to put back together, it is going to make it easier for us to get to that fuel line right there, and to get to that pipe plug where we're going to put a fuel line right there. And you know, it's all wide open enough as it's ever going to be, unless we were to pull the turbo, to get to that other pipe plug back there. And with the exhaust out of the way, it'll be easy to get to that fuel line back there. So it's not, you know, just about the Banjo bolts that I decided to go ahead and do all that. But anyway, we're well on track to end the day with more parts off the truck than there were when we started the day. So it's always a good day. We got just about half hour of daylight left for the sunsets. So I think I'm going to wrap this up on the Banjo bolt video. They definitely should flow better. So if you're going to be upping your injectors and size and upgrading all your soft fuel lines, soft, you know, if you're going to upgrade all the other fuel lines, that's a part you might want to pay attention to. Riff Raff made these, at least that's who sold them to me. I do have an Amazon affiliate thing. If I can find these on Amazon, I'll throw a link down in the description. If you go ahead and click on that link to get to Amazon, you know, to shop around for them or whatever, that would help me out maybe a tiny bit, not much. So it's not going to make me wealthy, I don't think, especially with the amount of views these videos get. But anyway, now you know what sort of headache the Banjo bolts might be in for. So if you're pulling stuff off to do your exhaust, for instance, if you're going to upgrade your exhaust, hey, get that Banjo bolt while you're in there. The easiest one was the driver's side rear. Because, I mean, there wasn't anything in the way there anyway. Now, you know, just the air intake would be the only thing. The 2 front ones, I mean, it's not the end of the world to take your accessories loose. It's just taking out bolts. So, you know, really wasn't that bad. Just looks like, you know, we're farther behind than we started the day. So, hope you have a good one. Hope January's been nice to you. And February is treating you well. And before you know it, we'll be out of winter. So keep the faith and enjoy every sunny day. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe, you know, put the bell in the collection if you want. I don't collect bells, but, you know, if you want to know when I post a video, you know how to do that. It's mostly the liking that helps get the video out further to maybe some other people might like to watch my goofy self doing unnecessary things. And the subscription, you know, that someday maybe I'll get monetized if I get over 1,000 of you, you know, that are willing to put up with me. So, anyhow, I guess that's all I got for this one. We're going to move on to fuel lines, and we'll see you on the next one soon. Have a great one.